So I want to talk about why you should define your fears instead of your goals. So I just got finished, like literally just finished watching a Tim Ferris TED Talk, and he talked about this topic. So a lot of times when I watch YouTube videos, training videos, or read books, like I like to take notes, right? You take notes. It's a way to further ingrain your learning and what you've just read, what you've just listened to. I encourage you to listen to those. Maybe take some notes while you're listening to some of my shows here on Real Estate Fundamentals. So I'm doing this very off the cuff because it really hit me. Hit me really hard, and I just felt impressed to share it. Like I said, I'm not an expert on some of the things I'm going to talk about right now, but I think it's very, very powerful. So basically, in this TED Talk, Tim was talking about a time in his life when he was in college, and he had a picture. He took pictures like super excited, just finished doing something at college. And he said literally like within a week later he was on the verge of depression, and the reason for that was he suffered from he was bipolar, and he had multiple dozens of depressive episodes during his life, and it was genetic in his family, and so that was the worst situation that he pointed out was that time in college. And so it, through some random events, like he avoided that catastrophe, and it led him to the path and the study of stoicism. So what is stoicism? So stoicism is basically, and this is straight off Google, like the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. And it comes from the school of thought that virtue, the highest good, is based on knowledge. So, and also that the wise people live in harmony with divine reason, and that governs nature, and they're really that you become indifferent to fortune, to pain, pleasure, like you're somewhat indifferent. And this is what I'm getting at. This is I think going to be the impact on your life and your business. You're investing in your real estate business, which led him to the study of premeditatio malorum. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but premeditatio malorum. So that is a stoic exercise of imagining that things could go wrong or be taken away from us, right? Like everything could go wrong. And so many prominent thinkers in ancient Greece and Rome subscribed to this chain of thought. So what I want to quickly share today is a stoic exercise that Tim shared, and through that premeditatio malorum and that premeditation of evils. And it sounds kind of like a scary name, but I want you to check this out. So here's the action steps if you're taking notes and you're going to actually do this. Like, hit the pause button if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, but get a pen, and let's go through some premeditation of evil, some things that could go wrong. Let's just take a moment, things that go wrong. If you're just starting out in business, maybe there's some things in life that you're not dealing with, on relationships and health, situations from the past, and some things that you need to take care of, you need to take care of, but you've got this fear, all these thoughts in your head that are like telling you that, you shouldn't go there. You shouldn't even broach that subject or broach those actions, or that success that you've dreamed of really isn't for you. So let's talk about this. This is very, very important, because as real estate investors, as entrepreneurs, we get excited about these deals and these goals and these dreams, and we watch these videos and we get hyped up, reading books, going to conferences, whatever it is. But in the back of our minds, like, we all deal with it like we're fighting against, well, maybe that's not for me, things are going to go wrong, all this kind of stuff. And there's a statistic that says that 80 or 90% of businesses fail, like when they're in their first or second year of business, right? That's probably true for real estate. I don't know, but you're not like the rest, right? You're not. Like, you're watching this, like, pay attention and apply this in your life. So what you're going to do is make a list of all the things that could go wrong, right? So you're going to basically create three different columns. You're going to define. This is the first one. You're going to define what is everything that you think could go wrong, right? You think could go wrong. I remember telling one of the very first fears that I had was actually speaking at, like, telling people that I was going to be a real estate investor. I was absolutely broke. I had no money. I was living in an apartment, no business experience. I had just the thought of thinking of myself as a real estate investor or an entrepreneur. Like, that was even a scary thought to tell my family. And so take whatever your thoughts are, your fears are, that deals are going to go bad, that people are going to laugh at you, that the market's going to crash, that whatever it is, that contractors are going to screw you over. Write down and define all of your fears. Number two, you're going to address each and every single fear. What could you do to prevent that thing from happening, right? What could you do to prevent, or maybe even lessen it? But what could you do to prevent your fears from happening? With contractors, for example, you get written contracts. You don't pay them up front. You go through a training course about how to manage contractors. There's all these things that we could do to prevent our fears, maybe not eliminate them. And this process isn't going to necessarily always lead to sunshine and rainbows. I'm going somewhere with this, but the second thing that you do with each and every fear that you have, and this could be a page, this could be 2 or 3 pages of fears. There's a lot when you're first getting started in a business. I get it. Like, probably should be 2 or 3 pages long if you're really honest with yourself, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing. So you list the things that you can do to prevent each of your fears from happening, and then lastly, you make a list of things that you could do to repair what went wrong if it goes wrong. Okay, so you define the fear, you make a list of things that you can do to prevent each fear, and then you make a list of things that you could do to repair it. Okay, if a deal went wrong, if things went sideways, if my flip flopped, whatever it may be, you go through define, prevent, and repair. Okay, so define the problem, what could you do to prevent it, and then if that worst case scenario happens, what could you do to overcome and fix the whatever you broke from doing that. So, and then also another question that Tim asked himself, he was going through a situation, he gave like a case study or whatever of how this all came about, and he asked this question, he's like, then I asked myself, is anyone in the history of the world ever less intelligent or less driven than me figured it out? He's like, I assumed they had, so I figured I could probably figure it out too. So do the same thing. Like, look around you. Like, look how many successful real estate investors, real estate entrepreneurs, real estate agents there are out there who've created a successful business that you're probably more intelligent than and more driven than. You can do it, right? With the right framework, the right structure, the right knowledge, the right base, support system, coaching, mentor, whatever it may be. Like, you can do it. So let's get into the really, really, really important stuff. So now after you go through that process, and it's important that you go through that process, right? And I've done this before myself in different forms and shapes, not the exact one that he laid out, but go through this process, define your fears. But now what I want you to do after you've defined them, figure out how you can prevent them and repair them, I want you to ask yourself this question. What might be the benefits of an attempt or partial success? What might be the benefits of an attempt or partial success? What do I mean? So what I'm talking about is, this is if you get a base hit. Like, if you're somewhat successful, you don't knock it out of the park, but you do okay and you don't hurt yourself too bad, and you learn some things, and you're chalking it up as a win. And this is basically playing up the fears, like all these worst case scenarios that could happen, but you're being conservative on the upside. If you've ever listened to Sam Zell or read Sam Zell's book, which I highly encourage you to do, he's one of probably the most successful real estate investor ever. Like, you need to read Sam Zell. So one of Sam Zell's tenets, his basic philosophies, words to live by. Like his business mindset is low risk, high reward. Low risk, high reward. This process is essentially is what that is like, hey, I've weighed out all the risk. I understand they could happen, but my reward is so incredibly great. I've got to take action on it. So read Sam Zell. But last importantly, this is where I was like, holy crap, this is solid gold from Tim. The cost of inaction. The cost of inaction. So if you laid it all out and you know that you're giving into fear, and I want you to begin to look at what is best case scenario. What if everything works out, right? What is the upside potential, or even just that conservative potential? What if you don't take action? What is the cost of your fear? What is the cost of your inaction emotionally, physically, financially, in the short term and the long term, right? 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. I could have very easily given into my fear. I took out a credit card, was broke as a joke living in that apartment, and I had to lay it all out. I had to really get real and raw and just honest with myself about, man, what if I don't do this? And for me, that process or that situation for me looked like I was basically going to remain an employee stuck in a job that I most likely hated, having somebody else, a supervisor or corporation, dictate my financial future, my well-being, the future of my family, and it just became like, nope, I've just got to dive into this thing and figure it out. And for me, that became such a greater fear than actually just failing in business, was that fear of never trying, right? And so I want you to think about the cost of your inaction, because so many people out there are just living in this fear, right? They're playing out all these fears and these things that could go wrong or may go wrong, and thinking about why we shouldn't do something, and then they're not taking those actions. This is hence the term, what do they say, paralysis from analysis, or analysis paralysis, whatever they say. This is where it comes from. It's like we give into all these fears and think about all these things that could go wrong, and I want you to do that. That's the purpose of this exercise. Is I encourage you, when you have those thoughts, put them down on paper. Like, think about them, because they may or may not be true. There's a quote by Mark Twain. He says something like, I've known many great fears and troubles in my life, and most of them never came true. Most of them have never happened. That's very true. So just write them out, and then go through this process of what's your cost of inaction, like on a scale of 10. What is it like to not take action? But on a scale of 1 to 10, what is it like to take action on the upside? Like, what does that look like for you? So go through this process, right? Now, this is not going to, like I said, this is not going to lead to all roads lead to sunshine and rainbows. Like, you're going to discover, like, some fears are well-founded. Like, some things, like, you don't do, right? We're looking in the world of business, we're in the world of real estate. Let me just focus in on real estate. Like, I believe strongly in what Sam Zell says, which is low risk, high reward. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for deals like, I talk about here in Real Estate Fundamentals, which is multiple streams of income, multiple exit strategies. We safeguard ourselves in each and every deal. And most of the deals, if you're building a business like that on Real Estate Fundamentals with a conservative business model, then I think you're going to find that most of the fears that you may have of real estate investing, they don't really come true very often in this world of investing that I built my business on. And it makes me think of a story back when I was in corporate America, and I began buying rental properties. And I remember telling a couple of buddies at work and coworkers and things like that, hey, I bought a rental property. Like, man, that's awesome. And then a couple months later, hey, I bought another one. Like, man, that's great. And I'm like, hey, I bought 3. Hey, I bought 4. around that 4 to 5 period, where I had 5 or 6 rental properties in a 6-month period, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to keep this to myself, because I don't want my boss and my job thinking this is distracting me from my job, or conflict of interest, which I guess it was. I bought 10 rental properties my first year, but at the same time I was in sales, so my numbers spoke volumes. I finished number 1 or 2 even when I was investing in real estate, so it kind of didn't matter. I just got super dialed in on what I need to do at work so I could have more time to work in real estate. So I've worked very effectively. But so my point of sharing that to you is I want you to begin thinking of those fears, because this friend at work, go back to my story, my friend at work, when I told him I had 3 or 4 properties, he said, man, I've always wanted to invest in real estate, but yada, 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 excuse. Fast forward 2 years later, after I bought my first rental property, had over 20 rental properties, and I was putting in my 2-week notice to leave my job, and I told him, hey, I'm quitting. And he was like, what in the hell, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm doing real estate. And that's when I told him, I continued buying rental properties. I just kind of kept it to myself, and I was making a full-time run. He's like, man, I can't believe that. So in those 2 years, it was about 2 years and 3 months, I had bought 25 rental properties. That friend of mine had bought none, right? And then 5 years later, he had still bought none, and we connected. He's like, man, I've always wanted to do that. What is the cost of his inaction, right? Are you like this man here, not taking action, not going through and defining your fears and seeing if they can be prevented or repaired, and what is the cost of that upside? Because now here I am sitting here, not to brag or to boast or to impress anybody, but to impress upon you what is possible, where 12, 13 years later, I've literally done hundreds of deals, created an Inc. 5000 company, multiple businesses in the world of real estate, and most importantly, helping to encourage, inspire, and motivate and equip other people to go out and do the same. So, my friend, I would have you consider that the easy choices and things, settling in life and taking that easy path, is going to become very, very difficult at some point in time. And the difficult things in life, when you choose to roll up your sleeves and have these tough conversations and build a business and build teams and dive deep into your fears, those difficult things in life, when you take those head on and when you don't back down, when you don't give up, my friend, when you fight that good fight, life will become easy. But if you take that easy path of relying on a job, or not investing in your relationships or in your health and all these different areas of life that really affect our business results, if you take those easy paths, at a certain point in time, life's going to get very, very hard. But if you dive into this and you address your fears and you attack your fears and you look at the upside, my friend, I have you consider that upside. If you structure these things the right way, right, and you build a business based on sound fundamentals, then my friend, I can tell you that you will not regret pursuing the calling in your heart, becoming all that you think that you can be as a real estate entrepreneur. So I just wanted to share this message from my learning this morning, and encourage you to go out and create the real estate results that you're seeking for your life and in your business.